Hi, my name is Jeff, and we're going to turn this into this. There's nothing there. How are they going to know what it is? I would like a large work surface, so I'm going to basically have a 4x8 sheet of plywood as my surface. Let's get to it. Plan to use 6 wheels as supports. So the first part, what I'd like to get done today is get the 4x4 posts put together. And I'm actually using two 2x4s. I'm going to glue them and screw them together for my 6 posts. And that will be under this plywood. And that will give it support. And then we'll have one shelf on the bottom and then, of course, the top surface. So I guess the first step is putting the sheetrock and sheetrock. So the first step is arranging our lumber and cutting the 2x4s to make the poles. So I'm gluing 2x4s to make 4x4s, and I love glue. It just makes it so much more sturdy. Also that I add some stainless steel screws, I think 2.5 inch. I pre-drilled these so they go in good. Now we're setting up the base. This is 4x8s, and the 4x8 sheet will be placed on top of this. So this is a support, and so we make this, and then we're going to add the 4x4s I created there. We're checking to make sure it's all plumb and level, and it did great. So now we're adding the poles in each corner. I put, I think, 4 to 3 stainless steel screws in here, and I did pre-drill them all. The pre-drill helps so the wood doesn't split. I also glued the wood together, which also makes it very, very sturdy. There you can see my bit busted, but it still works. So you saw the glue on there. Now I'm attaching each pole. I'm making sure that it is level, very important, that it is square. So I square it to my maybe square floor. Now I'm adding the middle supports, and then for added support I put 2x4s on either side of that side. So measure twice, cut once. And if you're like me, measure once, cut 4 times, then go back to the store. Now we're adding the top 2x4s on each end. I like to use a clamp, and you can see here I'm using the mallet to finally adjust the joint so it looks good and it's very flush. I like this method of using the clamp and slightly pounding it, kind of, not super tight clamp, just enough to keep it on there, and then slightly pounding it with a rubber mallet to adjust it. And again, I put in the, I think, 2.5 inch stainless steel screws. They can be galvanized. I just used screws that I know wouldn't rust and had some strength to it. Woodworking is just adult Legos with power tools and possibly cursing. So you can see there I put the 2 screws joining the 2x4s and then 3 screws into the post, and then it's glued as well, so it's well done. Here is a great overview of the first part of the bench, and I wanted to keep the poles inside the 2x4s, kind of like the 2x4s are like bumpers on the top and bottom, because I didn't want that 4x4 outside of that, catching on stuff. And I like the way it turned out. So now we're adding the support cross beams on the middle section of the 4x4 post. This will really help support the middle of the 4x8 sheet. You can stand on it. You can put a lot of weight on it with this additional support. We use the same method with the clamps and the mallet. Now this is a big moment, putting the piece of plywood on top of the support. Had a little help with my son there. Maybe got a sliver. Should have been wearing gloves. It was pretty good, like within 1/8 of an inch, I think. The first time we put it on. I mean, there's not much you could do different if it was off a lot. So might be a good idea to do this multiple steps to make sure you keep it nice and level. But I was very happy with how correct it was. Why did the woodworker break up with the tape measure? It just wasn't measuring up. So now we're cutting out the notches in the bottom piece of plywood where we can store tools. And we need to cut out the spots where the 4x4s are located. I saw this on a video once and I thought I'd try it out, and it actually worked really well. You can either like use a drill and drill it and then start using your miter saw. From there, you just stick it in the hole and cut it. But if you lightly put it on the wood at this angle and run it, it'll actually cut into the wood pretty good. If you're looking for a precise cut, not probably the best, but it actually worked pretty good. So I did that a few times just to save a little time. And I was happy with it. Bottom plate on the top, and this was our biggest mistake. We could not get this sheet to go in the bottom part. So I guess you could think about putting this sheet on before you put the poles. That'd be an option, but I'll show you what we did here. So we verified that we could not actually get it in, put it at an angle. I don't know, we weren't even close. It was like an inch off. It wasn't going through. So we had a little thought process what to do here. So we decided to cut the 4x8 sheet right in half, and then we could place it in there. So that's what we're doing here. We're just cutting it right in half. I got a few helpers for this one. My son put on an interesting mask. Now, much easier to put. And you can see when I laid it down, we have 2x4 right where the two connect. So there'll be support under those, under that joint where the two, there'd be 2x8s meet in the middle, which helps a lot. Now for the second one, put that one in. So we're off like 1/8 of an inch on the end. So I just cut that out. This project definitely isn't like you're making cabinets. It is a workbench, so it's not as precise as something like a cabinet, like kitchen cabinets. I measured out how often I wanted to put the screws, and I believe I used like 1.5 inch screws because it's 3/4 inch plywood, and then it would go into the 2x4 at least by 3/4 of an inch. Flipping it over, you can kind of see that support in the middle there. Now we're putting on our wheels. Funny story with the wheels, I actually changed all these wheels out for better ones because I didn't like how you tighten these. You have to like turn the dial on the wheels, which is a little annoying. You have to bend down. So I got better ones. There's a big like foot clamp, and you just push it down with your legs, and that locks it. And they're actually, these were fine. I think 600 pounds. But the new ones I think were rated higher, so even more weight. Because this bench actually gets pretty heavy, and if you start putting tools on it, yeah, it's a beast. I went with the 6 wheels. I'm glad I did. Just added support, so not all those 4 wheels are taking all that weight at once. It helps with the longevity of the workbench as well. So attaching each wheel, I use leg screws. I did pre-drill them, I think with a 1/4 inch drill bit, and then added the leg screws. This is the fun part. This was a good feeling to have this part done. Had a little fun with the wheels, kind of a nice cart. Okay, here's the big moment. Adding the 4x8 sheet, 3/4 inch 4x8 sheet. I think it's BCX plywood, a little nicer sanding on top. Really happy with this. Kind of found one with nice pattern on it on the top. Made sure it was close to being right on there. I used the mallet to adjust it to get it to fit perfectly. So I attached the top, and I think I did 4 to 6 on each side to support it. And I think that's all you really need. It's not going anywhere. I didn't glue it, and I didn't glue this piece because if I ever do want to replace that top piece, I just unscrew the screws and put a new piece on top, kind of refresh it. So I did not glue this onto the 2x4s. So of course my son had to test it. He got on there and did a few jumps, and apparently he was pretty confident in our work.
So here it is. The first stage is done. Overall, it's okay. Made a few mistakes, but that's the way it goes. So what I like about it, I think the height is good. I think it's about 30, just under 35 inches high. It moves, it's pretty mobile. It has the locking wheels. So not too bad. It took probably about a day. We spread it over 2 days. I had my son helping. Yeah, the average person with average skills should be able to make a bench like this by about a day. I'm going to go over a few of the tools that I used. Here they are. So here are the tools that I used. For the start of the video, I didn't have safety glasses. You should always have safety glasses on. So I'm a moron for not having safety glasses on. Also, gloves. These are really thin. Gloves are kind of grippy. I love them. I'm going to wear them all the time, even when I'm doing dishes and stuff, because they're really cool. You can really grab stuff. Because I had a few slivers throughout the first couple days of working on this, and these would probably stop those slivers. Probably the most important thing is a drill, a variable drill. Use this for both drilling in screws and pre-drilling the holes, not to splint the wood. Probably the second most important thing is miter saw. This has a 12-inch blade, but you can buy it with like a 10-inch. That's fine. We did use a table saw once, but you could, if you don't have a table saw, you can use a circular saw to rip the plywood. Bing! So here is a circular saw. This is a cordless one. I think it's 5.5 inch. Could have used this. One thing I really want to point out is this tough built belt was awesome. Here on here, my tape measure, utility knife, just a general level. It has pockets for screws, and you can put your drill bits in here. But the big thing I use a lot is, I think they call it a rafters square or a speed square, even though it's a triangle. Use this quite a bit to make straight lines to follow your cuts. And I don't have it on here, but a pencil to mark your things is very important. Another thing I want to point out is clamps, especially if you don't have a helper. Clamp things down for drilling and for putting things together, and just a general square is very helpful. A mallet to mallet things, no, rubber mallets to knock things around because it's good for that, and just a general hammer for pounding stuff. And this jigsaw we made to cut the bottom plywood shelf works really good. You could also use a circular saw for that. And also we had this, but we don't really need it. We just needed to cut the screws that did not screw all the way that we needed to take out. So that's an awl saw. I use Black & Decker. It just so happens I bought a drill with this battery, and then I just bought the other tools to fit the same battery. So now I have the whole lineup of Black & Decker, but I think pretty much any manufacturer has these 4 tools that use pretty much the same battery that you can switch back and forth. I hope you enjoyed this video, and you too can create this bench. Thanks so much.